Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing the second question on LeetCode, which is add two numbers. So let's look at this first example. This example has two linked lists. One has 2, 4, 3, and the second one has 5, 6, 4. And again, the digits are stored in reverse order. So they're actually 342 and 465. If we add them together, we have 807. Result will also be in reverse order. So we will have a linked list that has 708. Okay, so this next example has a 9999 for the first list and 999 for the second list. Again, if we add them together, we will get 10,998. So we will have a linked list that has 89901 because it's reversed. When we have a math problem like this, one thing we could do is to actually solve the math first on our own. So let's actually do that. So this first example is 342 plus 465, and we usually start from the right. So 2 plus 5 is 7, 4 plus 6 is 10, but we only write 0 down, and we have a carry out, and then we have 1 plus 3 plus 4, which is 8. And let's solve the next one as well. So we have 9999 plus 999. So we have 8, 1 carry out, 9, 1 carry out, 9, 1 carry out, 0, 1 carry out, and 1. So from that, we can kind of assume, or we can kind of guess that we need to keep track of the carry out. For this problem, there are several steps. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a new dummy node for the result, which is going to be at the beginning of the list that we're going to return, but we will delete the dummy node later. And we're going to have 2 pointers at each head. We're going to have a carryout variable, which will start at 0. And then we're going to iterate through both linked lists. And while the node exists, either one of them, or the carryout is greater than 0, then we're going to go through the iteration. And we're going to create a new node in the result list. And we're going to have addition from the linked list 1 value and linked list 2 value, and also the carryout. And then we're going to update the sum, which is going to be the remainder of sum divided by 10. And then we're going to update the carryout for the next digit, which is going to be sum divided by 10. And lastly, we'll return the dummy dot next. Okay, so let's actually go through these steps. First, we're going to create a dummy node, and you can give it any number, in this case 0. And we're going to have 2 pointers starting at each head. We're going to start the carry out at 0. So we're going to iterate through both linked lists. We're going to check if there's a node at each pointer. And we're going to also check if the carryout is greater than 0. So in this case, the nodes exist at each pointer. In this case, it has value 2 and 5. So we're going to create a new node in the linked list. And then we're going to calculate the sum, which will be the value at the first pointer, second pointer, and the carryout. So in this case, 2 plus 5 plus carryout 0, so it will be 7. And we want to make sure that it is a single digit. So what we will do is we're going to divide it by 10, and this would be 0, 0, and 7. So we're going to add the remainder to the new node. We're going to add this number, we're going to have update the carryout with this number, which is 0. So we're going to move each pointer and the node exists at each pointer. So we're going to create a new node in the linked list. And then we're going to calculate the sum, which would be 4 plus 6 plus carry out 0, which is 10. And we need to make sure this is a single digit, so we're going to divide it by 10. We're going to add the remainder to the new node. And we're going to update the carry out with this number. So this becomes 1. Let's do that again. So the pointer is moved by 1. And the node exists at the pointers. So we're going to create a new node. And then we're going to calculate the sum, which is going to be 3 plus 4 plus carry out 1, which is 8. We're going to divide it by 10 just to make sure it's a single digit. We're going to add the remainder to the node. We're going to update the carry out, which is 0. And then next iteration, both pointers will be null and the carry out will be 0. So this is when we can stop the iteration. And then lastly, we can return the result by deleting the dummy node. And this is exactly what we wanted. Let's go through the steps with this example as well. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new dummy node. And I'm going to give this 0. We're going to have 2 pointers starting at the head of each linked list. We're going to have carry out starting at 0. And we're going to iterate through both linked lists. And nodes exist at each pointer, yes. So we're going to create a new node in the list. Then we're going to calculate the sum, which is going to be 9 plus 9 plus 0, which is 18. We need to have a single digit, so we can divide this by 10. And again, we're going to have the remainder in the node. We can update the carry out with this number. Let's keep going. So the pointers move. The node exists at each pointer. Then we're going to create a new node, calculate the sum, which is going to be 9 plus 9 plus carry out 1, which is 19. Again, we're going to divide this by 10. And we're going to add the remainder to the node, update the carry out with 1. And then next, the nodes exist at each pointer. So we're going to create a new node. And then we're going to calculate the sum, which is going to be 9 plus 9 plus 1, 19 again. So same thing, we're going to add the remainder to the node, update carry out with this number 1 again. And next iteration. So we have a new node for one of the lists, so we can just ignore that. So we're going to create a new node. And then we're going to calculate the sum, which is going to be 9 plus carry out 1, which is 10. And again, we want it to be a single digit. The remainder will be the number in the node, and carry out is going to be 1 again. Next iteration. So now we have new nodes for both pointers, but we still have a carry out of 1. So we want to keep going until the carry out is 0. So in this case, we're going to calculate the sum, which is going to be just the carry out 1. We need to create a new node. And we're going to have 1. And just to make sure, we can divide it by 10, 1. So we're going to add the remainder. And again, the carry out is going to be 0. So now the both pointers are null and the carry out is 0. We can stop. And then lastly, we can delete the dummy node. And then we're going to have the result list. If you want to see the code solution, you can click on this next video or click the link in the description. Thank you for watching.